Welcome back. Today we're doing a deep dive into some really focused source material.
Yeah.
The goal here is analyzing 7 specific scriptural verses, numerically selected, to see if they outline a coherent prophetic story pointing towards one date, September 22, 2025.
Yeah.
What's the narrative they're claiming is hidden there?
Well, the method itself is pretty interesting. The research is built on comparing two quite specific historical Bible translations.
Okay.
They used the Charles Thompson Bible from 1808. That's the first English take on the Greek Septuagint, the text, common in the apostolic era.
Right.
And they put that alongside Young's literal translation from 1862, which is like hyper-literal.
To keep it really tight textually?
Exactly. The idea is to anchor the meaning way back, avoid sort of modern interpretations clouding things.
What came out of locking down the text like that?
The claim is that these 7 verses, which look pretty random by themselves,
Yeah.
they actually form a whole eschatological cycle, a complete story arc.
Okay, so what's the arc? Where does it start?
It kicks off with division, a foundational split, divinely ordained. They use the sons of Abraham, Isaac, and Ishmael as the sort of blueprint.
That classic separation.
Right. And that division forces a choice, Choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve. That's the theme pulled from Joshua.
Okay, division, then choice.
Yeah.
But the sources say this choice. It doesn't go well.
Generally, no. The narrative points to failure, what the analysis calls spiritual amnesia. People forgetting God's past actions, his benefit.
Forgetting leads to not being able to see.
Precisely. To blindness, where revelation, even if it's right there, becomes like a sealed book, incomprehensible to the majority.
That sounds like a downward spiral. Where does it bottom out?
It culminates in a really tangible crisis point, desecration, symbolized by taking away the daily sacrifice, setting up the abomination from Daniel.
Heavy stuff.
But crucially, there's always a counterpoint identified in the texts. The set-apart remnant.
The Levites reference.
Yeah, based on numbers, where the Levites weren't counted in the armies, they're sort of outside the general failure. This group, this remnant, they supposedly keep their sight.
So you have this whole cycle built from these verses.
Yeah.
But how do they justify picking these verses for this specific date, September 22, 2025?
Yeah.
Seems like you could find patterns anywhere.
That's the $1,000,000 question, right? The defense against,
Okay.
confirmation bias.
Yeah.
The analysis tries to address that by mapping the scriptural sequence onto a very specific timeline framework developed by Dr. Ernest L. Martin.
Okay, Martin's work.
And the date itself is key. September 22, 2025. It's the 29th of Elul in the Hebrew calendar.
Which is?
It's the very last day before Rosh Hashanah, the Feast of Trumpets, begins, the eve of a major biblical appointment. That timing is considered critical.
So the ancient text pattern is overlaid onto this specific significant date and then connected to modern events.
Correct. The source material argues this cycle converges on that date through 3 specific modern alignments: global, national, and local.
Let's break those down. What's the global alignment?
Globally, they see the division and the forced choice playing out maybe in a UN summit focused on the 2-state solution.
Dividing the Holy Land.
Mandating it, effectively. And specific nations like the UK, Canada, Australia, recognizing a Palestinian state that's seen as mirroring the Isaac-Ishmael template, a forced separation.
Okay, while that's happening globally, what about nationally?
Particularly the U.S.
Nationally, especially in the U.S., the alignment is blindness. The idea is the country is consumed by internal chaos.
Distracted.
Totally distracted. The sources speculate on things like, maybe a high-profile political assassination, big controversies over immigration policy, major public health scares, flashpoints that keep everyone looking inward, ignoring the huge decision being made about the Holy Land.
So global division, national distraction, that leads to the local Jerusalem.
Yes. That combination, the external pressure, the internal chaos, creates the conditions in Jerusalem for the desecration event from Daniel 11.
The scenario painted is that some charismatic figure uses the political vacuum, the turmoil, to do something unauthorized at a major holy site.
An act considered blasphemous.
By that set-apart remnant, yes, a profound desecration in their eyes.
And after all that, division, choice, failure, blindness, desecration, what's the end of the cycle?
It concludes with deliverance. The verse used is from Acts about being brought safe on shore after a shipwreck.
So the storm passes.
For the remnant, yes. They emerge having kept their spiritual sight through the chaos, and they gain a new, clearer understanding of who they are.
Wow. That's Quite a detailed sequence mapped out.
It is, and looking at the structure, the argument's strength maybe isn't just predicting events, but showing how current or even speculative events could fit this ancient pattern. Division, choice, failure, desecration, deliverance derive from those specific texts. It suggests a kind of typological resonance.
Okay, so let's leave you the listener of this thought. The source highlights September 22nd, specifically because it's the day before Rosh Hashanah, the eve of a major biblical appointment. So, putting aside whether you believe the prophecy itself, what significance might that specific timing, the very edge, the eve of an appointed time, add to any major global decision made right then? What weight does the timing carry? Something to think about.